kids, I'm Michael Stevens from Vsauce, here at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, to help answer the question, how do you live in space? A big part of living in space is eating in space. And boy, have we come a long way since the first astronauts squeezed meat paste out of toothpaste-like tubes. Today, you can choose from dishes like Caribbean chicken, teriyaki vegetables, even seafood gumbo. Pretty much anything you can have down here, you can have up there. But of course, eating in zero-G comes with some unique challenges. To help us understand some of them, we have come straight to the experts at NASA. And we're going to have two junior chefs compete for a chance to have their dish served on the International Space Station. To help us decide whose dish goes up into space, we've got two special guests. First, meet astronaut Don Pettit. Don has logged more than 370 days on the International Space Station. He knows a thing or two about eating in space. Next, we have NASA's resident space food expert, Vicki Claris. She helps keep astronauts healthy and happy with foods that meet their nutritional requirements, but also taste a little bit like home. So here we are on the floor of the Space Station training facility. Guys, it's an honor to be here and to have you with us today.
Well, thanks. This should be a lot of fun.
I'm looking forward to tasting some of this great food.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I have a question, though, to begin from the kids at home. They want to know how it's different to eat in space compared to here on Earth. Vicki, this kind of seems like your area of expertise.
So eating in space is different from eating here on Earth in a couple of ways. The challenge for liquid is the fact that they're going to want to escape from the package and float around. We're going to start and use powdered beverages, and the crew members are going to add water on orbit, and then they're going to have to drink through a straw. And so the straw has a clamp on it so that in between sips they can clamp it closed. Because if they leave that clamp open in microgravity, very slowly that liquid's going to work its way up that straw and out into the cabin. And so that would create a really big mess.
Wow, that's really cool. But what about solid foods?
The challenge with food is that it's going to tend to want to float. And so one of the ways that crew members handle food on orbit to make it easier to eat is they use a tortilla. And they'll put something in the tortilla, wrap it up, and it's like having a sandwich without having to deal with two pieces of bread and all the crumbs that that would create. So when we formulate our foods, many of them are designed to be wet when they're consumed, and that's so that the surface tension from the wet food will cause it to stick to the package or stick to the fork or the spoon that they're using to eat it with on orbit.
Wow, that's actually a perfect segue to our food challenge. Today's dishes will need to be wrapped or sandwiched or use surface tension to be eaten in space. So without further ado, let's introduce our two junior chefs and see if they're up for the task. Our first junior chef is Lauren. Welcome, Lauren. Are you excited to create space food for us today?
Definitely, this is amazing.
Okay, now let's meet our second junior chef. Say hello to Jonathan. Welcome, Jonathan. Nice to meet you. Think you're up for the challenge?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, our chefs will be creating a snack in round 1 and a meal in round 2. And they'll be judged based on 3 criteria: taste, nutritional value, and creativity. So Don, you get to start things off by choosing the secret ingredient for the snack round.
Wow, let's see what's under the box. Oh, wow, there's granola and peanut butter.
Which one should be the special ingredient?
Moi lubini peanut butter.
What does that word mean?
That's Russian for my favorite is the peanut butter.
Why is peanut butter your favorite?
Well, I like peanut butter particularly in a weightless environment because it's sticky and you can use it as glue to hold your food together.
Yeah, it's like a food glue.
A food glue. I like that.
Okay, well, then it's settled. Peanut butter.
Peanut butter it is.
Okay, chefs, you have a pantry full of ingredients available on the space station and 8 minutes to prepare something tasty. Ready? Go. So, Don, you have spent a lot of days up in space. How important is variety when it comes to the foods that you eat up there?
It's important to have a variety of food when you're going to be on orbit for a long period of time, and you can mix and match your food. You can exchange it with your crewmates. Your taste can change, so it's important to have a selection.
Yeah, I guess you can't just go to a grocery store in space. That actually brings us to our first trivia question. What do you kids at home think was the very first food consumed in space by a U.S. astronaut? Was it candy-coated chocolate, astronaut ice cream, or applesauce? If you guessed applesauce, you're right. It wasn't very appetizing, but it did prove that astronauts could safely eat in space. Okay, now let's check in on our junior chefs and see how they're doing. What are you making for us today, Jonathan?
Peanut butter and banana pudding sandwiched between two brownies.
That's an interesting twist on the PB&J. So, Don, do you guys make PB&Js in space?
Oh, you can take your peanut butter and you can put your peanut butter and jelly on both sides of the bread. In weightlessness, you can just have it float, or you can kind of stick it on something on the side of the table like a chopstick or something that's already anchored to the table. And you've now turned a normal slice of bread into a vehicle for maximizing peanut butter and jelly intake.
Nice. All right, now let's check in with Lauren and see how she's doing. Lauren, what do you got cooking?
I'm making peanut butter and sliced pears sandwiched between two waffles.
Sweet and savory. It's hard to go wrong with that. But it looks like neither contestant's dish will require a utensil. However, I hear that someone here has brought a special utensil with them.
Oh, the spoon of exploration. I happen to have it with me right here. This is the spoon of exploration. And I've kept it with me all these years, and this has flown back to space station 2 more times. So this spoon's been in space 3 times now, over a year. I keep it with me, you see, right there. You never want to leave without your spoon. Never leave the planet without your spoon.
Sage advice. Okay, looks like time's running out. All right, great job, junior chefs. But before we get to the tasting, I have another question for you kids at home. How do astronauts keep their spoons from floating away? Do they use Velcro, bungee cords, or both? The answer is both. But if you lose either, you can actually just use tape. All it takes is a little bit of surface tension to keep your spoon from floating away. All right, we've got our first snack in front of the judges. This is Jonathan's entry. Dig in. It's a lot to chew on. I think smaller bites at a time may have been a smarter choice.
I could eat my weight in these, and in space, you're weightless.
So that sounds pretty good, but let's check in with Lauren's dish and see how she does, okay? Now here's Lauren's beautiful dish. Dig in.
Ooh. Too bad we're not doing more takes than just one.
Vicki, what do you think?
Well, waffles, peanut butter, and pears, certainly creative, and peanut butter is definitely an excellent source of protein.
Now that snacks are out of the way, we're going to move on to round 2, the main course. And Vicki, you will be choosing the secret ingredient. Let's find out what it'll be.
Okay. So it looks like the secret ingredient is either going to be beef or chicken.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to choose chicken.
Why is that?
Well, because just like people here on the ground, astronauts are trying to eat a healthier diet, and so many of them are choosing to limit the amount of red meat that they have in their diet. So chicken would be an excellent choice.
All right, chicken it is. Chefs, the pantry is all yours. This time you will have 15 minutes. Let's get cooking. So it sounds like our chefs have a lot of ingredients to work with. But Vicki, how big is the menu on the International Space Station?
Well, that's kind of a hard question to answer because it's going to vary depending on which crew members are on orbit. On the Russian side, they have about 100 different foods and beverages. And on our side, we have about 200 different foods and beverages on the NASA side. So there's quite a variety, but it does go up and down depending on which crew members are on board.
So it sounds like they won't be going hungry. Let's check back in on the action. Lauren, what's going on at your station?
I'm hydrating the vegetables with the water in the syringe.
Cool. But Dawn, how do you hydrate packages like that when you're up in orbit?
It comes from a machine. I like to call it our galley water dispenser, and you got two buttons on it. You could get room temperature water, or you can get hot water, and you have a little spigot that you stick your packet in, and it'll inject water into whatever you want.
Wow, so it sounds like you guys have a lot of cool tools up there.
You can never have too many tools.
That's good advice. Let's check in with Lauren. Lauren, what are you going to do with that chicken?
I'm using the grilled chicken to make an Asian-inspired wrap with teriyaki vegetables, raisins, and sliced almonds.
Whoa, looks like Lauren's adding a little bit of a kick to her dish. That actually segues really well into our final question from kids at home. Is hot sauce popular with astronauts?
Oh, it's popular.
Yeah. Hot sauce is very popular. Anecdotally, many of our crew members report that they feel like their taste buds are somewhat dulled on orbit. They're getting less aroma from the food. So it's kind of like when you and I have a cold and we can't really smell the food. It kind of all tastes bland and, you know, all tastes the same.
Yeah, and also the smells don't move around like they do here on Earth.
And since they're eating out of packages rather than off a plate like you would down here, that further restricts their ability to get aromas from the food. Both of those together make the condiments, especially the hot sauce, very popular.
And it's a sad day when you run out of hot sauce, realizing it's going to be 3 more months before a resupply vehicle can bring some more.
All right, well, let's check in with Jonathan. Jonathan, what you got cooking over there?
I am cutting open the package so I can start putting the cheese on my flatbread.
Oh, good use of cheese. What's the final dish going to be?
I am making a flatbread sandwich with grilled chicken, cheddar cheese, southwestern corn, and tomatoes and artichokes.
Both of these dishes are making me hungry. But Vicki, tell me more about how you prepare food for blastoff.
We don't have refrigerators and freezers for food on orbit, so we have to make food products that are stable at room temperature for long periods of time. There are 2 really common ways to do that. One is called freeze drying. So freeze drying just takes the amount of water down to the point where the food really can't spoil, and the other is called thermostabilization. That's our pouch products, and that's basically the canning process. The canning process has been around forever. Instead of using metal cans, we're using pouches, and that's because the pouches are lighter in weight and much more efficient to stow when you're having to box this food up and send it to orbit. So the pouch is actually called a flexible can.
Okay, looks like time's running out. Okay, time's up. Now, as we prepare the food for the judges, I have one final trivia question for you kids at home. What is the longest a person has lived in space? Is it 221 days, 437 days, or 688 days? If you guessed 437 days, you're right. That's a lot of space food. Okay, now let's get to the fun part, the tasting. Let's get a taste of Lauren's meal entry. Go ahead. Don, what do you think?
I really like the hot sauce. It gave it a nice tangy tinge.
Okay, cool. Well, now let's take a look at Jonathan's dish. Looks pretty good. Tell me what you think.
I love how fresh the vegetables look.
All right, Vicky, what's your response?
So this is a good combination of carbohydrates in the bread, protein in the chicken, and lots of good nutrients in the vegetables.
I like the way how it's kind of sticky and gooey, and here these things are kind of oozing out and falling down on your plate, but in weightlessness, they'd all kind of just stick in a cohesive way to the bread, and you could quaff this down without making a mess.
Oh, wow, cool. Okay, I think we're ready to announce a winner who will become an honorary member of NASA's food science team and have their dish served on the International Space Station. Okay, the moment of truth. Who is the winner? Who gets to be an honorary member of NASA's food science team and have their dish served on the International Space Station? Don, what's your vote?
I'm not going to waffle my decision. I'm going to go for Lauren.
Lauren, all right. Vicky, where's your vote go?
Well, I think I'm going to have to go with Jonathan from a nutritional perspective.
Interesting. That makes me the tiebreaker. I will vote based on creativity, and my vote and today's winner will be Lauren. So that's the show. It has been a blast learning about space food and what goes into it. I want to thank our junior chefs, our judges, and of course the good folks at NASA for the footage and this wonderful space for the whole thing. Remember, keep asking questions because you never know where it'll take you.
Hey kids, don't forget, once you finish the activity, click the I did it button to collect your cool badge. Nice!